One club, one director of football, and 20 seasons to build the biggest empire world football has ever seen. This is the football empire. And this is going to be my final FM24 adventure. I do feel like I've maybe said that before, but FM26 is actually announced this time. And I think this series has the potential to be absolutely bananas. It's been a long time since I've started a save. Not sure if I'll actually be able to complete the challenge or not. So that's new. And this is how it's going to work. We're starting things off at Sunderland, but not as a normal manager in a normal save. I'm going to be the director of football, which means I'll be handling transfers, staff, and tactics. But that's it. I'm not touching the matches. Just like the cool kids do, we're just going to hit simulate and see what happens. But with a twist, because of course there's a twist. As we hit certain milestones in the game, we're then going to buy other clubs and bring them into our empire. And I'm going to be the director of football at all of those clubs too. And I'm going to have the ability to move players and money freely between those clubs, however I see fit. That means if I want to sell a Sunderland flop to one of our feeder clubs for £40 million just to balance our books, I can. If I want to loan out my wonder kid striker to get European minutes at another club, I can. We're basically building the Football Manager equivalent of the City Group, just without the cheating and the unlimited pile of cash. And as usual, I've written rules because I love rules. These are the rules. Rule 1, we start with Sunderland as our flagship club. Number 2, I control transfers, tactics and staff at every club we own. Rule 3, matches are simulated only. I will not be buying a tracksuit for this series. Rule 4, new clubs are unlocked by hitting milestones like top half finishes, cup wins or European qualification. Rule 5, once a club is in the empire, and I will be adding them as affiliates using the in-game editor so the game knows they're connected as well. But once they are in the empire, we can move players and money freely between them, but only using the in-game mechanics. I'm not going to be using the editor in that bit and just moving cash and players around. So expect some transfer shenanigans between the clubs within the empire. And rule 6, the ultimate goal of the series is to complete my third Pentagon challenge of FM24, winning all the Continental Champions Leagues. But this time, we're going to do it all in the same season. The challenge is only complete if, and I'm saying if rather than when on this one, because I have no idea if I'm going to be able to do it. The challenge is only complete if we reach the point where clubs from our empire hold all 5 of the Continental Champions Leagues at the same time. It's going to be long, it's going to be messy, and if it works, it's going to be glorious. And what are those milestones we need to hit? I hear you cry. Thank you for playing along. This is what we're working towards during the first few seasons of the save. Milestone 1 is a top half Premier League finish with Sunderland. Once we've achieved that, that unlocks our first expansion club, and that club will be a club from a smaller European league. We're talking Belgium, Portugal, Netherlands, that kind of level, mid-table club from one of those leagues. Then the next milestone is hitting our first European qualification, and this can be with any club because by this point we'll have multiple clubs. So any club, first one to qualify for Europe, that unlocks a club from a bigger European league. So we're talking Spain, Italy, Germany, etc. Our first domestic cup win with any club unlocks a club from the east of Europe. I'm not going to say Eastern Europe, but the east of Europe, the faraway bits. We're talking Czechia, Croatia, Turkey, Greece, the ones that take ages to fly to. And then our first league title with any club unlocks a South American club. We get to start moving to other continents once we've won a domestic league title. There are going to be more objectives for later in the series to get us to the point where we eventually have at least one club on each continent, but never more than one club in the same country. But these are our first objectives. And they all start with getting Sunderland into the top half of the Premier League as quickly as possible. But before we get into that, I do want to add a disclaimer. Don't expect this to be daily like all of my other Football Manager series. With me having to do a season per episode and transfer windows for each club we're managing between each one of those seasons, these are going to take much longer than a typical Let's Play to put together. This is still going to be the big main series on the channel between now and FM26 coming out, but there are going to be some gaps here and there. Sometimes there'll be something else filling a gap. And sometimes we're just going to experiment with this thing that I've seen some other people do that I think they call a day off. I've never really done them. There will be a few of those throughout this series. And this is the Sunderland squad we're kicking things off with. It's as up to date as I could get it for the start of the series and predicted to get relegated. So easy peasy. Let's have a look at what we've got to work with. So star player without any question at all, Granit Xhaka. He's been made captain in real life. I suspect he will be made captain in game as well. This is a man we are going to build our midfield around. Despite him being 32 years old, he's just so much better than every other player at the club. And we want more Granit Xhakas. We dream of a team of Granit Xhakas. Other decent players, Reinildo is a 31-year-old left back who can also play centre back. He's 5'11". He's getting nowhere near this team at centre back, and at his age, I mean, he's no Granit Xhaka. We'll probably look to cash in on him and reinvest that money. If we can get anywhere near that kind of price range for him, that'd be super. Simon Adingra, of course, is a player who's recently joined Sunderland in real life, and I expect big things from. Omar Alderete is another one who is a bit old for the project that I've got in mind, and Enzo Liffey should be pretty good. I mean, with Enzo in there as an attacking midfielder, Xhaka as a defensive midfielder, we've got a winger. I'm leaning towards my favourite 4-2-3-1. But obviously, we've got some transfers to do before we start worrying about formations and things like that. As far as youngsters go, Chris Rigg is 18 years old, homegrown at club, and somebody we definitely need to make part of this club going forward. Obviously, the plan is to ultimately win the Champions League with Sunderland, which means playing in Europe, which means keeping our homegrown players around. So we need to develop Chris Rigg and ideally get a feeder club ASAP so we can send him out for some game time, because he's probably not going to play for us immediately, but it would be handy to be able to send him off to play somewhere else. And then we've also got Habib Diarra, who's a little bit older, a little bit further down the development line, and probably someone who is ready to come straight into the first team, and a few other promising youngsters knocking around the place as well. Money-wise, there's a little bit of money in the bank. There's a little bit of money in the transfer budget. There's not a lot in the wage budget for us to do any significant moves. We are going to have to sell before we can buy, but there is a lot of dross at this football club. This isn't me with all the squads loaded. This is Sunderland with a first team squad of 39 players at the start of the save. So let's get to doing some transfers, shall we, and see where we can end up by the first day of the season. Or in actual fact, the end of the transfer window. There was no point getting to the first day of the season. As you can see, we've had an odd start. 3 games, 3 points on the board. So we have won a football match. The 2 we've lost, though, we lost 5-0 and 7-2. We actually beat Arsenal on the first day of the season 3-1. You can see some of my new boys getting involved in the goals already, but that 7-2 against Spurs is madness. Losing 5-0 against Man City away, I guess, is to be expected. That is a very worrying sign now. If we look at the transfer business that we've done, you can see that I've worked my Kev magic, and despite not selling a huge number of players, have managed to spend gazillions of pounds. I would like it on record, I've not spent this full 97 million. My transfers only actually start from Million Manhoff down there. So I've personally spent about 35-40 million. And some of these loans that aren't showing as fees are loans that fees are involved with. So we were able to bring some money in from some of these as well. But there's not really any significant first teamers who've left the club. I've just piled more players in. What's my first team squad now? We're now up to 41. So yeah, I've done a great job of trimming the squad. What I have done is brought in some quality players. A Million Manhoff, we've already mentioned. He's a Dutch 23-year-old winger, natural on either side, 3 stars of current ability, 4.5 stars of potential, and already got a goal in that win over Arsenal. Ryan Andrews, is in as a new right back for us, 21 years old. One we've signed very much with potential in mind, 2.5 stars of current ability, 4.5 stars of potential ability. He comes in from Watford for just shy of £10 million. This is the most me signing I could possibly make. Emmanuel Emega is somebody I've had in multiple saves before. He's 6'5", and you can't teach that. Not only is he 6'5", he's got good jumping reach, he's got good heading, he's mobile, he's quick, he's physical, he is everything. He's like the prototype centre forward. He's everything I've ever dreamt of, and he's going to come straight into this team. £17.5 million, worth every penny. He's got 3 goals from 3 league games already, averaging a 7.33. And I would emphasise, we've conceded 13 goals in those 3 games. This guy's still scoring for fun and averaging a 7.33. He's going to have a nice time in my team. And to try and stop the rot in goal, we've brought in a goalkeeper, Stefano Turati, who unfortunately arrived and was immediately injured. So he's not actually played a game for us. Hopefully when he's fit, he will get to play some games. £5.5 million from Sassuolo. And then lastly, Sepp Vandenberg as another big physical unit. 23-year-old Dutch under-21 international, 6'4", 3.5 stars of current ability. He's on loan from Brentford, who've just signed him for £20 million from Liverpool. So, yeah, I expect him to be a pretty useful part of the squad. As far as the team goes, obviously we are going to line up with a 4-2-3-1. According to the game, this is the best 11, and of course, because we're not managing the matches, we are kind of at the mercy of my assistant manager and him picking the team that he wants to pick. I do have the option when I go on holiday to I need to do a coaching course. I've not got my Continental Pro. I can lock in tactics and current team selection. I'm going to lock in tactics. I'm not going to lock in the team selection because we've got a lot of young players and I want them to be able to force their way into the team as the season goes on. Like if Chris Rigg is brilliant in his first 3 substitute appearances, for example, I don't want us to refuse to start him all year just because Kev said so. I want the assistant manager to be able to use his initiative. It might mean that some of these players don't get developed the way I would like them to be, though. Someone like Ryan Andrews, if my assistant manager doesn't even consider him good enough for our bench, it doesn't matter that we've spent £10 million on him, he's not going to get used. So there is the danger of that. But I think that is a pretty solid team, although I think what I'm going to do is actually switch to this because we've just lost 2 matches. We've been absolutely smashed. So I'm tempted to switch to that and get him into the team, who's one of our high potential youngsters. That might be a better plan. Obviously, we'll adjust some of the player roles and stuff to fit what we've got, but we can't be losing 7-2 at home to Spurs. That's some kind of nonsense right there. I chickened out. I left things as they were, and this is the team that finished the season. This was the 11 for the last game of the season. I don't even know who this guy is. I can only assume we've played a rotated team on the last day because we're already secure in mid-table. We finished 11th. Really frustratingly, only 1 point behind Brighton. If we'd have picked up 1 extra, I guess 2 because of goal difference. If we'd have picked up 2 extra points throughout the season, we would have finished in the top half of the league and unlocked Club 2, which would have been a sensational start to the save. Unfortunately, we haven't, so we're going to have to try and do that next year. That is going to be a big goal for next year. Of course, if we've won a cup, we unlock a club. We haven't won a cup. We got knocked out of the FA Cup by Forest in the 4th round, the Carabao Cup in the 3rd round by Crystal Palace. But let's have a look at how our boys have done. I already noticed on the Premier League screen that Emega has finished second for goal scorers, only behind Erling Haaland, ahead of Alexander Isak. 23 goals from the 23-year-old Dutchman. That's my striker right there, boys and girls. I love that man. We haven't really got any goals from anywhere else, and he's injured. So he got injured a couple of weeks ago, and it looks like as a result of that, I mean, you can't really blame his injury in that match on that run of form. That's a horrible end to the season, bearing in mind we were so close to finishing top half. Oh, we were there. We were there right until the death. We were up in 8th. We were top half of the table for most of the second half of the season, and we've just fallen apart and bottled it. I wonder if as soon as we were safe, the assistant manager started doing rotated teams. No, that looks pretty strong. I don't think that's that rotated. I just don't know why that run of form has happened against some of the dross as well, and Liverpool, I guess. But it's a weird end to the season after what had been a really good season up to that point. But yeah, we need an additional goal scorer. Omega, like I say, you get an injury and there's not much behind him. I mean, the next highest scoring striker is Maenda, who's in there at the end of the season. He's only got 2 stars of current ability and he's never scored a league goal for us, just as that 1 goal in the cup. So we actually only have 1 striker at the club who scored for us this season. Adingra only getting 1 goal is a worry from the left-hand side. He's not really performed the way I hoped he would. And if we look at assists, I mean, once you get past Enzo Lefi, you don't really have a lot in the way of assist makers either. He's had a pretty good season, 18 goal contributions. Only a 6.91 though, suggests some very up and down form wanted by Leicester. But we don't really have a dominant assist maker either. And then if we look by average rating, our backup goalkeeper, we could ignore. Omega obviously doing pretty well. Taubi, I don't know. Taubi, I think it is. Kev knows real football. He's really been affected by us actually sticking with the 4-3-3 rather than going to the 4-2-3-1. But the way he's played when he's got an opportunity suggests it might be worth giving the alternate formation a try next season, maybe, especially with Granit Xhaka now getting a little bit older. He might benefit from having someone sat alongside him as part of a double pivot or being able to play a little bit deeper himself. So we have plans for next season. Finance-wise, we've got money as well. There's loads of money in the bank. There's £34 million in the transfer budget. There's loads of spare wage budget. We are going to have a happy, fun time, and it is all about getting us into the top half of the Premier League so we can unlock Club 2 and maybe Club 3 if we can win a Carabao Cup along the way as well. That also would get us a club. But that is season 1 officially in the books. I'm never going to not be frustrated by missing out on our first expansion club by 1 point, but with over £30 million to spend, I think we should be looking good going into the next episode, getting that top 10 finish and starting to build our empire. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you're not already. Like I said at the start, episode 2 will be with you in a day or 2. I don't know at this stage how long it's going to take to record these videos, so bear with me. I'll get it up as soon as I can. And of course, once we get that second club on board, things are going to start getting proper weird around here. And obviously, we're having a chat with the ones who stayed to the end of the video now. This is real talk time. Because obviously this entire concept is something very different for me and very different for this channel. So please do me a favour and leave a thumbs up on it, even if you thought it was rubbish. We will be back to normal with Not Meet to Legend once FM26 arrives. But I don't think any of us, least of all me, could have stomached another FM24 Let's Play. We've done so many, so we're trying something new, we're experimenting a little bit, and I'd really appreciate you getting behind the new series and us having a little bit of fun with it. Who knows where it'll go, how long it'll take, but it should be fun finding out. And of course, let me know down in the comments who you think our first expansion club will be and whether or not you think I'll complete the full challenge, a full Pentagon in 1 season before FM26 comes out. Thanks for watching, folks. Toodle pip.